On January 26, Triumph graced us with the presence of the new 2021 Speed Triple 1200. And even though I was back from one of my several month-long hiatuses by that time, I still didn't really cover it in a video. The short reason for that is because of how I tend to think up my videos. I never really like reading off specs of new bikes and just regurgitating whatever the manufacturer puts out there, because at that point you could just read an article straight from the source, or I don't know, watch someone else's video. So instead, what I like to do is look at a new vehicle and think about what it means to me beyond just the numbers. So how does this Speed Triple that I'll never own, never afford, and likely never ride mean anything to me? Well, I mentioned it many times, but I was supposed to own a Speed Triple, one from the 2005 to 2010 generation of the 1050. When I say I was supposed to own one, what I mean is that I went to the dealership to put down a deposit on one, but due to some rather annoying events, I made it to the dealership after it closed. Then the next day that I went, someone already secured it that same day over the phone. So while shopping, the bike was just staring at me with them big old eyes. So this is how I ended up on my FZ, but had things gone to plan, I'd have triumphed. So here I am with an FC1 that I don't ride, and I'm looking at this 2021 Speed Triple, holding a controversial opinion that, god damn it, the 2005 1050 generation looks better. Did I say that out loud? Is that an angry mob? Somehow I always knew I'd go out this way. Before y'all pitchfork me, let me give some attention to the new one, because it's definitely a great bike in its own right. You guys know me, I'm a nudist when it comes to bikes, so the 2021 Speed Triple is right in my wheelhouse. The Speed Triple was always a great naked bike because it always prioritized nudist values from the start. Triumph would design the bike ground up as a naked bike. The biggest reason to walk into a Triumph dealer and put down a deposit on this new bike is that new 1160cc triple cylinder producing 177 horses and 92 foot-pounds of torque at 9,000 RPM. The new engine is 15 pounds lighter, produces more power, and it's also been beefed up to accommodate all the tuning that you guys will likely do to it. It's easily the fastest Speed Triple to date. Hell, it's even the lightest at 436 pounds wet. Now that's often a number that you see as the dry weight for bikes. Of course, it's 2021, so you get all the electrical wizardry doodads that you'd expect from a new bike: quick shifter, traction control, ABS, IMU, ABC, 1, 2, 3, do, re, mi, wheelie control, cruise control, keyless go, and the keyless gas cap. I actually kind of like that one, because we're still scratching paint while filling up these bikes these days. Oh, and now the Speed Triple looks like a 600 class bike with how they seem to have shrunk the damn thing. You get Öhlins in the back, Öhlins in the front, Brembo in the back, Brembo in the front, and you can expect this thing later this month to hit floors. And with all that said, why am I still thinking about some crusty old bike from 2005? Is this how, like, getting old goes, or maybe how staying broke goes? Because like Miss Tomlinson trying kombucha, I can't exactly see how this bike would work for me more than the older model. But then again, I can. But not really. But then again, use case is probably not fair to hold against the bike, considering it's not really opinion or fact, it's just anecdotal. Still, I think the 2005 to 2010 model is as handsome as ever, and this is the body style I think of when I think Speed Triple. It's just so clean and simple. Hell, even throw in the Street Triple from 2007 that's designed after this model. Every time I see one in public, I stare at it like some creep who isn't nearly as smooth as he thinks he is, staring down a fly chick to make her blush. It's like that girl you almost had, but you can't quite get over. I'm looking at the 2005 to 2010 Gen 1050. I'm looking at the 2011 to 2020 Gen 1050, which all look pretty much the same, minus some updates in 2016. And finally, the newly announced 2021 model. By and large, I look the other way when I'm out in the street and I see a 2011 1050 style, generally with a bit of disgust at the fact that it looked close enough to 2005 models to make me squid. The elephant in the room is the change in headlights. Now, this might be the most polarizing change between the 2005 and 2011 because the redesign nixed the round headlights that these bikes had since the 90s. And even though I love round headlights on the 2005 way more than anything now, I still understand the update into this bug eye style. The chrome round headlights were a bit of a holdover from the mid-90s, where many sport bikes had dual round headlights even within a set of fairings. The idea was to be a factory Streetfighter, so having simple, bare, seemingly floating dual round lights, echoed a bike from the 90s missing its front fairings. The great thing is that the round headlights are a mainstay in retro style motorcycles, and it's also the most universal style of headlight, so it just kind of works. Show me a bike that doesn't look good with a round headlight, and I'll show you a goddamn liar. It's funny because even though the round headlights look like they're floating, especially when you throw the top hat fly screen in there, it still just looks good. I mean, you have this model carrying this old school headlight style into 2010, and Triumph decided that it needed to be modernized. Again, that's fine, but I always thought that the bug eye headlights simply held way too much visual weight. Like, they maintained the whole factory Streetfighter aesthetic, but this time echoing the look from a bike from 2011 that's simply missing a fairing that goes around headlights. Only this time, it doesn't look as good. To me, at least, they're too big, they're too high up, they look like a brassiere. And if you look at them from a certain angle, they don't even look symmetrical. The 2016 update made them definitely look a little bit better in terms of shape and integration into the rest of the styling, but the idea was still the same, and they were still too big. That's why you had kits going around that allowed you to convert these bikes back to round headlights, be it dual or single. They also got really like slashy with the styling. I mean, there's just way too much going on here. It kind of suffers from the same issue that the FZ10 did. It looks fancy, but there's just over styling out the wazoo here. And I reckon Triumph even recognizes this, because if you look at the 2021, they've returned to a much more smoothed out look. In fact, look at this tank or the 2021. It looks like a much more modernized version of the older models. It's as if they kind of went back to what the Speed Triple form should be, you know, a lot more understated.
So what is it for you, Miles, that defines the Speed Triple's attitude?
Well, it's a combination of things, Matt, many of which you can trace all the way back to the first Speed Triple launched in 1994, which actually we have here with us in the studio today. Now, this was a bike that essentially kicked off the naked sport category. I would consider this the original Streetfighter, and as you can see, this has a really unique, menacing style. Even more significant, however, at least for me, was the second bike we have here. Now, this was the first Speed Triple 1050. This was launched in 2005. And I would say this is the first fully ground-up designed, road-focused, naked performance sports motorcycle, from its chassis to its ergonomics and its engine performance. Plus, of course, this really encapsulates that aggressive attitude, from its trademark twin headlights, single-sided swing arm, and its stubby, muscular form, which cements that Speed Triple design DNA. Now, all of which sits at the heart of the brief for this, the new 1200 RS.
Okay.
Clean. In fact, they went all out on clean because they ditched the undertail exhaust, which is something we see basically everybody doing. I mean, it was the bee's knees back in the early and mid 2000s because of how cool they looked, and I guess you could get a much better lean angle, but muffler tech has come a long way, so cans are smaller, and that much extra piping is just heavier for no reason. Still, to go back to the 2005 Gen 1050, man, I just love that undertail exhaust. I mean, it just looks so menacing, like it looks like dual shotguns with that stubby tail and that exposed single-sided swinging arm. You can get a low mount aftermarket exhaust too, and since the tail is so well designed on that bike, it still looks good. You just miss out on that fully exposed rear wheel. Now, the 2021 is running a low mount muffler from the factory, and I think it's perfect for the rest of the bike. It was probably easier to deal with emissions laws this way, so, you know, it makes complete sense, and I don't really have much to say about it, even though a lot of people aren't really digging that change. They even shrunk the lights of the 2021 down a little, which is fucking awesome, but then they goddamn messed up on something. Let's go back to 2005 and look at the Speed Triple headlights. Chef's kiss. Look at them. They're floating. I don't, it's magic. 2011, they added a little shroud to the in-between area of the headlights, and you can kind of see through them a little bit, but the 2021 model, they added what looks like an inner fairing on a faired sport bike. Like if you took the outer fairing off, you kind of got that little piece of plastic between the headlights. It kind of looks like a forehead, since the lights look more like eyes than ever. And as always, the headlights are a major point of contention right now. It kind of gives me Streetfighter V4 vibes, but not nearly as goofy looking as those headlights. I mean, really, man, this is Ducati we're talking about. We all know this front end could have looked way better than this. And I think these lights are a step up from 2011 and 2016, but a step down from just some simple round buckets. I mean, hell, they kind of did the same thing on the Rocket 3, so they could have went back to it, but they just decided not to. As of now, the 2021 comes in two colors, black and gray, with gray easily being the better of the two. You get FZ-esque gray with like high vis green accents. The graphics are modest and modern, and I reckon it's the definitive version as Triumph shows off this color the most. The black and red one is a little too like glossy everywhere, but I mean, it still looks fine. The bike looks fine. It's a 2021. It looks like a nice new bike. It performs like a new bike as you'd expect. You know, buy it, ride it. I don't know. The 2005 to 2010 model performs just fine for its age. 1050cc, fuel injected, 6-speed, 130 horses, 78 foot-pounds, 467 pounds wet. It's your normal mid-2000s performance, and towards the end of the run, you got improvements like Brembo brakes up front and improved comfort. Now, if it's not clear by now, I do like the 2021 Speed Triple as it looks better than the previous model, just not as good as the previous model. I haven't read the room enough to know if that's as a controversial opinion as I think it might be, but I guess I'll find out. I think all of the bikes are cool, but as with anyone, I have no problem playing favorites. So while this bike is making splashes upon its release and everyone gets their hands on it, reviews it, I'll just be sitting here staring at an 05 to 2010 model somewhere in Brooklyn that I don't own, and the owner's contemplating calling the police on me, and wait, where did I park my own bike? And I'll still be thinking, man, this is what a Speed Triple looks like. Thanks for watching.